Hello and welcome to another End User Talk podcast. I'm your hostess, Jamila, your Lady in Tech. Hello and welcome, Timia, to the End User Talk podcast. I do appreciate you for taking time out of your busy schedule to join me today. How are you?
Hi, Miss Jamila. Thank you so much for letting me be on. This is such an honor. I'm doing really well. Yeah.
Well, that sounds good. Well, you sound great. Before we get started, do you mind introducing yourself to us?
Yeah, no problem. So I can introduce myself in two different ways. One was I know Miss Jamila because Bria was my best friend growing up. Bria is her amazing daughter. And I grew up, majority of my earlier childhood was in Arlington, Texas. And then once I moved to Grand Prairie, that's when I did most of my middle school and high school education. So I'm from Texas. I call it Dallas, Texas, but really it's like the Grand Prairie, Arlington, Mansfield area. And I recently graduated from UT Austin as an international business major. And I'm currently working as an assistant brand manager for a natural hair line called Earth Supplied, working at AB Brands LLC. And yeah, I recently did a TED Talk over colorism. A lot of my most, fulfilling achievements of being at UT Austin is through my work with my team called The Color Complex, with other students, amazing students that were on my team, as well as faculty. And so we were able to push me to do a TED Talk, and that recently just happened today.
Well, all of that sounds exciting. And yes, I guess I got a little cheat here. Timia and my oldest daughter were definitely best childhood friends. And so I have to say, just watching you grow into the young woman that you are today is it's a lot. But I'm very proud of your accomplishments and everything that you are offering and actually opening yourself up to. When you grow up, life can be different, from what you gauged as a child. So being able to see you just to grow up from that little girl that, used to hang out with my daughter and y'all go through the things that you went through to who you become now, it speaks volumes, So thank you. I appreciate you for being here again and sharing all of that. You've done some pretty interesting things here. So UT Austin is where you graduated, and you said it's for an international business degree. Is that something you always wanted to do, or how did you go that direction?
Yeah. So I guess, honestly, growing up, I whenever I was contemplating what I wanted to do in college, I was in high school and I was talking to my dad, and I think I was really wanting to go more the social impact route, or sort of like the social service route. And then, just talking through everything with my dad and just my different options, just seeing that business was definitely another way that I could still do that and still kind of capitalize on different things. And so that's kind of what led me to go to do McCombs at UT Austin, with it being a really great business school. But I'm definitely a very unorthodox business student. I'm not driven by the regular business goals, or, wanting to be in accounting or finance. And so just kind of looking at my different degree options at McCombs, I wanted to utilize my passion for traveling and getting to know different cultures and just understanding the world, and kind of like shape that within business. And so international business was probably one of the best decisions that I could have picked.
I would definitely have to say that with what your individual passions or what was driving you to do what you wanted to be or who you wanted to be when you grew up. And we all have to work. So it's definitely important to try to align ourselves, our thought processes in things that give us interest, empower us or help us do those things. If we're in the mindset of helping, and as you stated, understanding is a very, very big, important thing that someone skill or ability that someone should have if they're in the world of business, because you're not around generally one specific group, and you do have to learn how to accept other cultures, other experiences, other views, and sometimes business can be one-sided in that. So definitely.
Yeah, no. And so that exactly all the things you said, I'm very, like from a very young age, I was made aware that I was a Black woman, and that was going to present a lot of different challenges. And, I grew up with Bria, and our parents from a very young age, like I think a lot of Black children all get it at different ages, but we get it very young, where you have to, be better and push yourself and kind of excel past what people that are, not within our cultural experience have to do. And so I really felt like, okay, I'm a Black woman. So there's such an intersectional way of how I am and how I perceive the world. I can't just go into business not with that mindset. And so that's really what pushed me to kind of be like, okay, like this may be the road less traveled, or people might, say it's, ambiguous, but it was a route that was best for me, especially because my identity and all the things that make up who I am really pushes me and pushes my passions. So yeah, that's exactly why I picked that degree plan for sure.
Well, you mentioned it's interesting, as just living in this Black skin, we don't have the luxury of being lazy, or when I use the term lazy, I mean, we don't have the luxury of not always being aware of our skin and our differences and the challenges that we're faced. In addition, not only are you Black, but you are a woman. So we kind of get this compounded, it's a caveat. It's a catch-22. It's this thing that we should be proud of. Being a woman should be something that you embrace, and also being Black. But then at the same time, you've got all of these other, things that are telling you that that's not something you should be so proud of. So unfortunately, we don't have the luxury. So it does start being a parent to instill, a Black parent instilling in your children young. Unfortunately, they can't be kids, and that's even difficult as a parent to try to lay all of this pressure on this child. But what I wanted to do as far as a line of questioning, I did have the opportunity to listen to your TED Talk, and everything that your topic of discussion is so on point with everything that we're going through right now. Sadly, as you mentioned in your TED Talk, you mentioned that this is 2020, and there's so many topics that we have to be aware of, or that we shouldn't be, like our hair, our skin texture, our skin, not texture, but skin tone. Can you say personally, although that was the subject matter that you were discussing, can you say that you've personally been challenged or felt a certain type of way as a result of any of the things that you discussed in your TED Talk?
Yes, of course. And I think, like, I like that you saw, like 2020 is just, it's lifting up a lot for everyone. But it's nothing new is what I keep saying. This is nothing new for Black people or Black women. But being at the cross section of so much, hatred and inequality, like we were all awakened a long time ago. And so, just 2020, we're seeing so many disparities within, just Black people in America, or just classes. And then we're also seeing how horrible just everything is with the Black Lives Matter movement, and just how everything's just been perpetuated over time. And so I kind of just like to call it like the snowball effect. Like nobody really wants to address the small things, and then they just add up to the big things. And I think at this point, we're all kind of being faced with all of the accumulation of everything that we've kind of ignored or let pass. And so, I think with my TED Talk, I mean, I've definitely experienced aspects of, colorism, or, the more encompassed version of colorism that includes like texturism, but I've also been a beneficiary of colorism aspect of it, of skin tone bias. And so there's so many intersectional things that make up colorism that it's really hard to just pinpoint it. There's also featurism, where people with non-white features are discriminated against, and to be a Black woman and have to figure out, oh, where do I stand on each side of these things? It's definitely very difficult. And also experiencing, oh, I'm a Black woman, so I do experience a lot of horrible racism and sexism. So yeah, I definitely, from a very young age, like, did not know what my natural hair texture looked like, and I wasn't encouraged to wear my natural hair texture because it was considered too nappy. Well, I didn't, I have to get perms to have good hair. That's the only way I can be professional. That's the only way I can be successful in life. And all of this was perpetuated through sort of just like this passed down of ignorance, and not recognizing that it is anti-Black language and it is anti-Black to have these things in our culture. And so I think from my own experience growing up, that's what really pushed me to be like, wait a second, like, Black women have to go natural. Like, what? Black women have to, like, we have to call our hair natural because it grows naturally out of our head. Like, that doesn't make any sense, and just really just kind of just asking more questions and not just accepting the status quo is kind of like what made me push past all of these sort of like different things that I had to deal with in terms of discrimination with like hair stuff and all of that. So sorry, I might have just been going raining on, but yeah.
You pinpointed you pinpointed a lot of things that these are the things that we are made to feel less than, or we have these things naturally. Our hair, these things should not be such a challenge. These things shouldn't be a focal point. But yet they are. We have no control over the way our hair the follicles of our hair grow from our scalps. We have no control over our genealogical line. We have no control about how we're going to come out in that mix there. The shape of your nose, the fullness of your lips, the texture of your skin, and Black comes in so many different, we come in so many different shades. And for you to have to constantly think about whether or not this is going to be something that allows you opportunities, or if you're going to be denied or considered someone who isn't educated or isn't the right fit for advertisements. You can't be the poster board because, they're not going to accept a darker skinned, darker complected woman, or because you wear your hair natural. That to me, that we have so many other things to focus on. That is the least of our worries, but these are the challenges, and these are the things that we become engrossed with. And it's not a thing. It's not an issue, Wow. Yeah. So it's a very touchy subject. I'm a mother of 3 girls, and all 3 of my daughters have different complexions. They have different hair texture, none of which, is the total of what they are embodying, or their abilities, their intelligence. They all are intelligent and beautiful in their own ways. And as children, I tried my best not to instill in them any type of, anything that would make them feel like one sister was better, or one of my daughters was better for one reason than the other. I did my best, and I have no idea if that was, if on their side they understood that, or if I made them feel a certain type of way. I always wanted to make certain that they were proud of who they were. But again, the world teaches your children and teaches
something
you
different.
things. Yeah. So it's very hard. But what you discussed in the TED Talk, it's always something that we've had to deal with within our, I don't want to say socio-economical group, but within the Black community. And as you mentioned, it doesn't just hurt, or it's not something that's just focused on within the Black community. There are other communities, other groups that think dark is not good or Black ugly.
No, yeah. And I think that was another thing that I wanted to really dispel with my TED Talk, but also with the research I did. Like, as you saw, the people I did the research with, we were all varying ethnicities, and we really had to kind of lay that foundation, because that we didn't want to just go through the same. We saw a lot of research out there that can go in depth on colorism and the roots of it with slavery, and it's very focused on the Black communities. But we very rarely saw research that was comprehensive of more than one community of different ethnicities, and seeing how they're at the core, it all was pretty similar. You know, I'm not saying that what Black women go through is the same as what an Asian woman goes through, or Southeast Asian, South Korean, you know, whatever. But, or, you know, my experience as a Black woman in the US as an African-American woman is different from someone who's Ghanaian, but there is still similarities in the hardships that we face with not being allowed to be who we are and having to change ourselves with this, you know, white film of like to this, you know, being in closer proximity to whiteness. And so that was a huge thing that we wanted to call out, was that Black people aren't the only people who be going through stuff with colorism.
True.
You know, it's really just not us. And honestly, anti-Blackness is the basis of it all. It's anti-otherness, anti-Blackness, and it's very pervasive in every aspect of every society that's been touched by colonization or whiteness in any, or globalization in any form or fashion. So that was something that we really wanted to do for sure.
And it's such a superficial, it's so superficial. I mean, it's not even an anomaly. It's just so superficial for us to be so obsessed with color or texture. And, you know, every day there's a new ism. I mean, there are so many isms that you have to face. You're dealing with texturism. You're dealing with colorism. You're dealing with racism. You're dealing with sexism. How does one focus? How do you focus, and how do you transition through all of this when you've got all of these things counting against you? How can one feel accomplished, or feel like you've got all of these things counting against you? How are you supposed to succumb or overcome all of this and then deal with whatever it is you're going through in your own personal life? So I want to ask you this as well. With all of the attention that has been brought to the forefront with the help of social media and outspoken young women like yourself, do you feel that we will at some point, or do you think that we have an opportunity to make this thing no longer a thing for us professionally? I want to say more professionally in the when we're living in the public eye. Do you think we have the opportunity to let this thing go and people just be able to live and excel based on their abilities to facilitate?
Yeah, I'll answer your first question. So your first question was basically, how do you continue to live life with all these things stacked up against you?
All these pressures.
Kind of, all these pressures.
Yeah.
It's hard. But to me, I found that knowledge is liberation, and it sucks that these are the things that we have to face. That all the isms are a part of our life, no matter our merit, right, of who we are and our achievements and all of that. But knowledge is liberation. When I started to understand why people viewed hair, specifically kinky textured Black hair, as nappy, as unprofessional, as unkempt, I was able to, I like to say, like, unlearn or decolonize that. And when I was able to do that, that was my liberation of recognizing, okay, like, this is the reality that I live in, because I don't think we can undo the history with which this country was founded upon, or just the history with which all of these countries have been, you know, so many different histories with what's happened over the course of time. So I don't necessarily know if it's something that you can push past, but knowing and knowing how to adapt or how to change towards, or to make a change towards these things that are stacked up against us is the only way that I keep going. I honestly I'd rather be someone who has this knowledge of the fact that these are these things, but also just having the knowledge that I can also change these things and these things aren't true. And that I want other Black women to know that. That's why I do what I do. I want other Black women to recognize that all of these things that you're being told is not true. It's so normalized that we accept our inferiority because it's what we've been socialized. Everything in our environment is telling us that, oh, you should be lighter. Oh, Black women are this. Oh, Asian women are this. Oh, Indian women are this. And it's something that we all are starting to try to redefine. And knowledge to me is the only way to push forward, and just looking towards other people that have the same testimonies, and who are willing to share yours. And so I think that's like the biggest way that I've been able to personally keep moving, and to keep, pushing towards, a bigger impact and taking down all these inequalities. And just, I guess, leading to your other question of, oh man, that's a pretty loaded I'm hopeful. I wouldn't be doing the work that I was doing if I didn't think that we could continue to move beyond, or to take down colorism, or take down some of these isms that, like racism and classism, all of these things are intertwined within each other, right? They're intertwined within just this system that we are all a part of. And so I really think, maybe one day that there is a possibility, but I think we are, clearly you can tell by it's 2020 and we're still dealing with immense racism in our country, and just immense disparities between people who are darker skinned and people who are not. And so for me, I think it's really going to take us all to wake up to actually make the difference. It's going to take a lot of us to make the difference, but I also don't know if things can change unless we get people within the true power, within those positions of power. I mean, it really boils down to who the key decision makers, who gets to say what's on TV, who gets to make, specific roles and delegations, for our country, and for who sets the example for the rest of the world. So I really think it's only when we get into positions of power and people are not in denial of the fact that these things actually exist that we can make the true change. Because I don't know about you, Ms. Jamila, but I can say colorism to maybe a handful of people and they'll actually know. So I don't really know. I don't know, like, it's going to take people to actually get that on their agenda before we can even really make, monumental change, I believe.
Well, I agree with you in that we definitely need it. Honestly, a lot of this change is going to have to present itself in changes of minds and hearts. Mm-hmm. The fact that you stated, and a lot of this has been, it's generational. It's taught. Yeah. It's learned behavior. So half of this stuff, on top of it being systematic in every capacity of life, you've got it. There's systematic racism. We've got systematic policies within our education, our healthcare system. It's going to be a combination of all of these movements aligning themselves at once over time. I don't think it's going to resolve itself overnight. The thing is it's sad that this is something that we can't overcome, because personally, whatever someone's color is, or their social economical state, or their educational level, those things should not hold a person back if they have the desire, the will, and the equal opportunities, or I'll say fair advantages and opportunities to learn, to educate, to help and make a better change. I don't think any of that has to do with the state that we're in and continuing this vicious cycle. but it's definitely going to take the effort of just us as individuals, voters, people like yourself who are sharing these stories, people who are in positions of power, whether that's from the highest position in the world with whomever is in the White House, on down to our local and state and governmental roles and positions to write in policy. There's going to be a whole lot of us that can help change this. But if nothing else, it definitely starts with you, and it starts with me and us finding that power within ourselves. And as you stated, knowledge is liberating. Once your eyes are open and you are no longer, you are aware of someone other than yourself, your own inconsistencies and weaknesses, and you understand it's not about you. Nothing can happen if all of us aren't working together to move forward. But self-awareness. No, yeah. And you came to this self-awareness at a young age, whereas some people may not. There are a lot of people who are still struggling with who they are, and how to appreciate and accept the skin they're in, or just wherever they came from, and growing and developing from that. Someone who's listening today at whatever age they might be. Normally I would ask the person, what would you tell your younger self? But it sounds like you already had a sense of self-awareness because of the type of parentage you had and the influence, as you mentioned in the TED Talk, of your grandfather. Those individuals kept your eyes open and helped you be aware until you became to a point of yourself to make decisions and appreciate who you are and kind of navigate through this journey of your life and accepting it. But what advice would you have for a young woman, a young man, or someone who is considered trapped and judged by these isms? What advice or suggestion or encouragement do you have for them to navigate through whatever their personal journey is?
Yeah, no, I think that's a good question. I'd want to first say that, okay, yes, I experienced, an ism at a very young age, and I worked through that, and but I do agree everybody's journeys are different, and like I said, colorism is so intersectional. There's different aspects of healing and growth and moving forward and facing the truth and all of that stuff. And I'm definitely someone who is not the poster child for colorism. I did not experience nearly as much as my friends do, as much as my family members do, who have to deal with featurism, texturism, and skin bias all at the same time. So I think the first thing I would say is don't judge your ability to see the truth and, try to reevaluate your value by how other people are moving. And like you said, Black people and so many people of color come in all varieties. It's really just a toss of the dice on how your appearance is and what your, background history is and all of that stuff. So I guess my biggest advice is just keep seeking out your own truth, and keep adjusting to what you absorb in this world. I am very conscious. I would say I'm a very conscious person, but I personally do not necessarily see every aspect of colorism in our society because I don't go through it every day. And then you talk to my best friend, Chelsea, who's a darker skinned Caribbean woman who deals with featurism, and she has a darker skin tone. It's her her ability to see what she goes through. It's way more overwhelming. So her own healing process is completely different, because there's so much more that she's dealing with on a day-to-day basis. And so I guess my biggest advice is just to heal at your own pace, challenge the truths, or challenge what you see in front of you in this world at your own pace. But nonetheless, keep seeking out knowledge and keep seeking out, okay, why do these things make me feel this way? What's beyond, what's the deeper layer underneath those things? If I know for me, if I didn't look past you just don't have good hair, excuse that I think a lot of Black women get so often, the response I got, when I wanted to finally go natural, which I had honestly never thought in my life I would. And I I probably joked about going natural and people who had been natural because I was ignorant and I didn't recognize what that was going to be like for me, or I didn't feel like I was worthy to have my hair in its natural state. But that's all just a part of the bigger aspect of value and worth of who I am. And it was only through breaking through that I was able to really stop, being in that trapped environment. But that doesn't mean that I still don't go through stuff, or that, people still don't look at my hair in a certain way, or people don't have these negative connotations put with kinkier hair textures. So I think I want to say it's easy to just be like, oh yeah, once you have this knowledge, you move on. But that's honestly not the truth. You have the knowledge and you have to work at it day by day because the same system is still set up. It's still around you. And then there are people who partake in it all the time. So it's just about, adjusting, knowing your truth and kind of going through your own journey and healing according to how you are and what your makeup is in this world.
You bring out a very good point, and thank you for that. Those words of encouragement. I think sometimes too, we kind of get lost in translation. And what I mean by that, there are so many things that are put in our way as stumbling blocks or distractions. And I say that because there's so many definitions and there are so many different terms that are thrown out to try to describe a person's experience, because there used to be this thing where it was a kind of a comical thing. I want to say it was on a TV show called In Living Color.
Yeah.
Right. They had a segment called Hidden Racism. I believe that was in Living Color. And that was all of those. And we describe them now as microaggressions. Mm-hmm. It's those things that you're being discriminated against, but you don't have a way to describe it.
Nail it down. Mm-hmm.
There you go. So I think sometimes we can also get caught up in that, trying to describe and have a word or a placement for everything that we go through so that we don't feel like, one, we're traveling this road by ourselves. Or sometimes, it's this situation where, I cannot make sense of this. Why am I being discriminated against this? Mm-hmm. Why is that even a factor as to why you're not considering me? So we have to label it. But the main focal point that we should take from this is we've got a lot of roadblocks and darts and obstacles being set in our way. But if you look at Black people historically, just about every obstacle that could be put before us, we've overcome time and time and time and time again. So it's not that we as a people are incapable of finding our way. It's not that we as a people are incapable of accomplishing goals. It's not that we as a people are uneducated. We have strengths and we've proven those strengths, and we've proven that we've surpassed, that we deserve a spot. And it's the individuals that continue to label and throw these obstacles. They are the ones with the insecurities. Mm-hmm. They are the bullies. They are the ones that are uncomfortable in their skin. Mm-hmm. And you can have somebody who will look at you and you not even realize that this person feels threatened by you. So who's going to stand up and say negative things about themselves? Although I am the threat, instead, I'm going to project my insecurities on you. And the powers that be, they've been very skillful in doing that, projecting their insecurities onto us and making us believe that we are the ones that are at a disadvantage. Mm-hmm. So if nothing else, what we need to learn or what we need to try to readjust and refocus is on, again, it's about you, about yourself. Fix you. Find the strength within yourself. Learn how to appreciate you. Okay, maybe your hair isn't the same texture as someone else. God did not, if I'm a religious person, so I'll bring God in the conversation. My grandmother used to always tell me God didn't make junk, and I believe in that. Mm-hmm. And if you study science says that anybody who made it to the womb, that was a fight to get there. So you're meant to be here. So if nothing else, however we came out, we need to learn how to appreciate us, find our strengths, find your self-worth. And until you can appreciate that thing that makes you different, work on something else. And then you double back and you try to figure out, why don't I like this thing? How can I make this thing better? So that you can learn how to appreciate you, because you don't get another you. The only thing you can do is reinvent, appreciate, and accept, if nothing else, who you are. So I'm hoping that in the wake of this Black Lives Matter movement, that we are not just a hashtag and it's not just popular. Yes, I'm hoping that we don't let this settle as a trend, because it is a big thing, and it's something that it's a hurdle that really it's not for us to overcome. Honestly, I'm not going to put all of that. It's not this. We didn't make this thing happen.
I agree with you on that one.
We just have to try to navigate through it some way.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
Yeah, this isn't a problem that we need to fix. It's just a problem that we need to stop giving life to. Sadly, unfortunately, I hate that this is how our conversations are always, it's always this type. It always leads to this. We can't have a conversation that doesn't lead to these isms, but there's a lot that you have done and that you have accomplished. With all the things that you are doing in your goal to educate and to empower other individuals, not just Black people, but just people who hear the sound of your voice and who may have been able to listen or hear that TED Talk. What other ways do you offer your resources, or would you like to be able to facilitate your knowledge and your lessons to others in the form of organizations and what have you?
Yeah. So, my amazing team, the Color Complex, we did so much with this project to like our research, where we did research at UT with, 2 populations. Then we went to Ghana and did research there. And then coming here, we were able to facilitate social campaigns through classes. And just that was a wonderful experience to get people who had no idea what colorism was or how it manifested, and giving them the knowledge and just the understanding to help us facilitate and create social campaigns that we can put on at the University of Ghana Legon as well as at UT, and that led to us creating an amazing museum of color where we had an art exhibition of just people's experience with colorism and just putting it out for display. And it's very vulnerable. It is very overwhelming and a lot of different emotions, but we wanted to give people the opportunity to share their stories. And so all of this that I've just told you, like pretty much the last 2 years of my college experience with my Color Complex team, we were able to have this portfolio of research and findings and just archives of our work. And so that can all be found on the website, thecolorcomplex.com. And I can also send that to you. I don't think I have, but yeah, that's like the biggest way that we were able to facilitate sharing, and any place that we can go to speak on our experience and our findings and the like totality of like our research, we try to do so. And so, there's a way to reach out to us through the website as well, but that's pretty much where we're at. We're always looking for ways to continue the Museum of Color. It was so impactful for people to see what colorism, how it manifests in everyday lives and in people's everyday experience, to a comb or a brush or any type of, tangible object or intangible thing. And so we're hoping to maybe do another version of that, sometime next year. It really just depends on how things go with COVID, but those are kind of the things that I have going on in the works, in terms of just, continuing to share, this message and trying to empower people of color to see what's going on in their communities and to try to make a difference.
Well, I think all of that is amazing. I would love to have the link or be able to experience that. I would love to be able to experience is it like a museum per se?
Yeah, so the Museum of Color was something that we, by God's grace, we were able to put on before pretty much all the schools shut down last spring. And so basically the Museum of Color was just different artifacts of people's lives and their testimonies, and you being able to see how this one sort of, simple little object really created a culture of different things that they might have gone through with colorism, texturism, featurism, and all that, maybe all at once, and just see how they work through their own process of empowering themselves with knowledge and things of that nature. And so basically you'll on the website, you're able to see the artifacts and people's testimonies. And so it's sort of an archive of the actual museum.
That's amazing. I will definitely be looking for that link, and I'm gonna check that one out. Timia, it has been a pleasure speaking with you today. My eyes have been open, and then some different experiences in my life have also resurfaced as well, with being a parent and raising young Black girls into the young Black women that they are now, and the young Black women that you've become. It's all surreal, if you will, but it's definitely been a pleasure speaking with you today, and I appreciate you for everything that you are putting out into the universe, and anyone and everyone who has the opportunity to hear, to see, to experience all that the color complex has been able to put together, and also sharing the experiences of other cultures and other nuances and again, distractions, because I just feel like that's what those things are. They're distractions that are meant to try to disable not you just physically, but mentally. And keep you from growing and developing into the great thing. And I believe each culture has something beautiful, and they're all explorative. They're all interesting. I don't believe in one culture being better or greater or superior to another, or even group of people. I believe that we are all people. We are all individuals. We all have something to input and to learn from and to experience. This world, we are a melting pot, and there's no reason for us not to be afraid to learn from one another.
No, and I absolutely agree. And I honestly would be remiss if I didn't. I have a question for you, if that's okay to ask. I don't know.
Go ahead.
And then I also wanted to say one thing before I asked the question, which was that I want you to know, and I hope I'm not speaking out of turn, but I think that you did an amazing job with parenting and with raising those 3 beautiful girls that you have. I don't think I met a more confident Black girl growing up than Bria Bynum. So I just want you to really know that I think you did an amazing job. And I think my mom too had the same thing. My mom did not ever create, I think there's instances where there is, no matter how much you tried, there are things that might still be passed down generationally. But as far as making me feel confident in myself and my skin complexion and who I am, my mom has always done that. My mom has always made sure that me and my sister never felt any type of way of or any type of inferiority with who we are naturally. I think there might be little things like the hair stuff that might have came up, but all of it was just in, a very, maybe like naive protection, just trying to make sure your kids have the best in life at all means, by all means, just have the best opportunities, and that these things aren't even a thing that needs to be stacked up against them, And so I just wanted to put that out there and say, I think you did awesome. But then also I just would, I feel like anytime I talk about colorism, it's something that is, whether you experience it in someone else's lives or whether you experience it in your own life, I just wanted to hear about your own experiences with colorism growing up, or just within your cultural experience, and just like how that was for you.
That's a good question. Well, first, thank you for that little bit of information. I had no idea. But I did my best as a mother with my girls and tried to have them around individuals who were like-minded. Your parents were like-minded. That's what it attracted me to them in the first place. Your mom, Melissa, she was amazing. And I hate that we kind of went separate ways, but life does that. But that was one of the things that we wanted, was to make certain that we had our daughters around people who weren't living in a trapped experience or just not living at all. I just wanted my girls to be around different people and see Black people who did different things and who lived differently, but again, like-minded. So that was my goal. But thank you. I appreciate that. Now, me, myself, personally, I grew up in Lubbock, Texas. Now, Lubbock, Texas is a very, it's pretty racist, to be perfectly honest. But I have to say that I grew up, my father was Mr. Black Power and Mr. Black Awareness. So as far as being self-aware of the fact that I was Black, I always knew that. And I had a mother who knew how to take care of hair. So there was never a point that from either of my parents that my hair was not beautiful. And I did just like any other Black girl, just through experiences. I also wanted my hair to look differently. I could not appreciate the state of my hair, and I wanted it to do things that it could not do naturally. So I went through the Jerry curl. Went through yes, I had a Jerry curl. I had a perm. My hair never did well with chemicals. So, I went through all of those difficult transitions with my hair. Now, as far as colorism, I can't really say in honesty that I ever went through any colorism per se, but I experienced, I guess, discrimination in other areas, just being Black. But I can't really say that I went through anything that was just something that I remember per se that would say that I was discriminated against. I think I went through just the normal things that there was the Black kids, there were the white kids, there were the Hispanic kids. Other than that type of separation, I can't say that I went through any real racism or discrimination of any kind. A lot of it was just me trying to navigate and accept what I had naturally. So it was really just me going around and being with different Black people or just different cultures and different races, just those experiences. And then just coming to a point to where I accepted who I was. And I'm going to be honest also, a lot of that didn't happen until I became an adult with my own family. So yeah, I guess that would be my best answer, but I've always been aware because, again, my father, he was really into the Black Panther movement, and he was not a Black Panther, but he was into that. And I always had a special place in my heart and I was never ashamed of being Black and what Black meant. Matter of fact, I embraced it. I think just the biggest thing was living in this Black woman's skin and being able to accept who I was and appreciate who I was and finding me, and not comparing myself to others. I think that's the thing that I struggled with.
Thank you so much for telling me your testimony. And I really appreciate, I think at the core of all these isms, it's just acceptance of self, of who you are, your uniqueness, your naturalness, and it's rough. It's tough, it's not. And like you said, it's not something that happens all in one day. I just accept myself through and through, It is unfortunately a journey for a lot of people of color. That is a constant choice you have to make every day. So yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. And these are the conversations that we definitely need to have in order for us to have some self-healing and just people talk about self-care a lot. This is a part of self-care. And a lot of times we can't make sense of things when we're trying to sort them all out by ourselves alone. And there's so much that you don't have an answer for. You cannot. I mentioned earlier, I was watching on, it was Instagram. I saw this young Black lady and she was kind of in tears. You could see she was tearing up, and she's just like the thing with the Breonna Taylor, situation. Her commentary was what did Black people ever do?
I think I saw that too. Was it on Facebook?
It was on.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, I saw it on Instagram. I don't have a Facebook, but I did see that, and I'm sure, and it deserves to get the circulation.
Yes.
It's just that's what you are left with. What did I do? What did Black people as a whole do to deserve this much? Is hate. What do we do? We were brought here in chains and in shackles. We didn't know the language. We struggle. We were killed for no reason. So how did we become a crime? You know, and it's a question, and you're struggling with just your own self-identity. And then you have to kind of try to add that into the mix. It's hard. So you do go through a lot of people go through self-hate, you know, but we have to have these conversations so people know that, one, they're not alone. And two, it's not something that we shouldn't have to focus on that. We definitely should be able to focus on other things that I think are such bigger stakes, just being human, you know, and dealing with illnesses and COVID-19 and things of that nature, and how we're going to pay our bills. And to me, those are the things, and enjoying life and family, because we don't know how long we're going to be here, you know, so hopefully one day we'll be able to overcome this. But I appreciate you, Timia, for everything that you're doing. And I know a lot of people are sick of hearing it, but we're sick of experiencing it.
There we go.
We're you know, we're sick of having to hold this shackle. We shouldn't be shackled with this. So just as much as you're sick of us bringing up Black Lives Matters and Black Lives Matter and any other thing that we've been charged with, racism and all of it, we're tired of being burdened with it as well. So until y'all are tired of it, we're going to continue to shout. We're going to continue to educate. We're going to continue to not allow you to discriminate us or put us in a corner. We got to talk about it. So thank you for coming up with the Complex of Color. Thank you for your mission, your personal mission to make sure that other people are aware that these things are happening. This is how you identify it. This is how you not become a victim or stay a victim of these things, because you are not defined by any of this. So thank you for everything that you have, all of the efforts that you have put forth in trying to educate, to liberate, and help people have resources so that they can go out and educate themselves and also spread the word, keep spreading it. So thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule. Thank you for sharing. And I do want to, before we close, if someone wanted to continue to follow you, how would they get in touch with you?
Woo! So you say you're not on Facebook? Like, Facebook is something I prefer over Instagram.
Right.
So honestly, you could just look up Timia Bethea, or even with if you go to thecolorcomplex.com, it has our full team on there, and you'll be able to see Timia Bethea and, you know, see my LinkedIn. So that's another way to get in touch with me. Yeah, Instagram is probably not the best route, only because I rarely on there and I'm not a huge fan. But Facebook, if you look up just Timia Bethea and, you know, Grand Prairie, Texas or something, like, I should pop up and you should be able to be friends with me or be able to see me in that aspect.
Now, everybody may not know how to spell Timia Bethea.
Let me spell it. Yeah. So my first name is Timia. So Timia. And then my last name is Bethea. So B as in boy, E as in eagle, Thea. So.
All right. So Timia, before we go, I also like to give individuals the opportunity to send shout outs. So if you use this opportunity right now to shout out to whomever it is you'd like to, go.
Ooh, awesome. Well, shout out to my mama. Now, shout out to my parents for always being supportive. It has not been easy throughout these 22 years that I've lived, but they are my biggest supporter. So shout out to Melissa Bethea and Timothy Bethea. Shout out to the Color Complex team, the faculty members, all of the amazing faculty we had, the President's Award for Global Learning who funded us to do this. Shout out to my sister Jalen. I love her with all my heart, and she's been my rock throughout all of anything, and she's been my biggest supporter too. My friends, Jasmine, Nevada, Bria, Vanessa, all of them. Shout out to everyone, and then just, of course, shout out to God. You know, I honestly am very spiritual, and I know I couldn't have gotten this far or done any of these things if it wasn't for God placing it in my life. And yeah, shout out to you, Ms. Jamila. Thanks so much for having me on. I am very grateful that you reached out to me and yeah, presented this opportunity to be able to speak. So appreciate
Well,
it.
you're welcome back anytime, Timia. I love what you're doing, your work, and I love this type of word. I always tell people I like to speak with purpose. And today, I believe we've spoken with purpose, and continued success to you. Stay encouraged and keep doing what you're doing. And thank you for joining the show.
Thank you as well. I hope you have a great rest of your weekend and just enjoy your family.
We've come to the close of another episode of the End User Talk podcast. I hope that what you've heard today will leave you feeling empowered. Thank you for listening. And remember, every day's a training day.